Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into another fascinating topic. Today, we're tackling something we all need but might not think about much. Water and minerals.
It's true. We often take the basics for granted, but trust me, understanding water and minerals is like unlocking a secret code to better health.
Absolutely. We're about to uncover how crucial these nutrients are for pretty much everything that goes on in our bodies.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we've got some amazing insights from, let's just say, a really reliable source.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So let's start with the most basic yet essential element, water. I mean, we all know it's important, but how important is it really?
Well, think about this. The average human body is about 60% water. That's a pretty significant chunk.
Wow, 60%. So it's more than just like quenching our thirst.
Oh, way more. Water is involved in almost every single bodily function. It gives our cells shape and structure, regulates temperature, helps with digestion, transports nutrients, flushes out waste. I mean, the list goes on and on.
So it's like our internal hydration system, our cleansing system, and our transportation system all in one.
Exactly. It's the ultimate multitasker.
Okay, that makes total sense. Now, I've heard that men tend to have a higher percentage of body water than women. Is there any truth to that?
It is true. And the reason behind that is muscle mass. On average, men tend to have a higher proportion of muscle mass than women, and guess what? Muscle cells hold more water than fat cells.
So guys, if you're feeling extra thirsty after a workout, those muscles are just putting in their water order.
Precisely. They need that extra hydration to function properly. Now, speaking of hydration, how does our body actually manage all this water?
Right, because it's not like we just constantly drink water all day long. There must be some kind of balance.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's all about balancing intake and output. We get water not only from what we drink, but also from foods, especially fruits and vegetables. And get this, our bodies actually produce a small amount of water as a byproduct of energy production. It's called metabolic water.
Wait, so we're like walking water factories? I love that. But speaking of water intake, let's debunk a popular myth. What about the 8 glasses of water a day rule? Is that really necessary for everyone?
Well, that number is more of a guideline than a hard and fast rule. Your individual needs can vary quite a bit depending on things like activity level, climate, even overall health.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
Nope. The best gauge is usually your thirst. But there are exceptions. For example, seniors, children, and athletes often need to be more proactive about drinking before they actually feel thirsty.
It's always a good idea to listen to your body.
Absolutely. Now, are you ready to dive into the world of electrolytes?
Electrolytes. Those are always mentioned in sports drinks, but I'm not exactly sure what they are.
Think of them as tiny electrically charged minerals. When they dissolve in water, they conduct electricity, basically powering up your body's electrical systems.
Oh, wow. So they're like tiny little batteries keeping everything running smoothly.
Exactly. They're crucial for nerve and muscle function, maintaining a healthy pH balance, and yep, you guessed it, water balance too.
So those sports drinks aren't just hype, they actually serve a purpose.
Well, for athletes who are sweating a lot and losing electrolytes, they can be helpful. But for the average person, a balanced diet usually provides enough.
Good to know. Speaking of diet, I think most of us have heard we probably get too much sodium. Is that true?
It is, unfortunately. Processed foods are often loaded with sodium, way more than we need.
So those chips and frozen meals, those are the main culprits.
You got it. And even foods that don't taste particularly salty can still be high in sodium, so reading labels is super important.
Okay, I'll definitely be paying more attention to labels from now on. So what are some easy ways to cut back on sodium without sacrificing flavor?
Well, cooking more meals at home gives you more control over ingredients. Using fresh or frozen fruits and veggies instead of canned goods can also help, since canned foods often have added salt.
Those are some great tips. I'm already thinking about all the delicious meals I can make with fresh ingredients. Okay, now let's move on to the other essential minerals. Calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium. These are the heavy hitters, right?
You bet. They're involved in so many vital processes, from building strong bones to regulating your heartbeat to even producing energy. We could spend a whole deep dive talking about them.
Well, let's start with calcium. We all know it's important for strong bones and teeth, but what else does it do?
Calcium's a busy mineral. Your body uses it for muscle contraction, nerve function, even blood clotting. It's so crucial that your body actually has a very sophisticated system to regulate calcium levels, involving vitamin D and various hormones, making sure you always have enough calcium circulating in your blood.
Wow, our bodies are amazing. So what happens if we don't get enough calcium?
Well, if you're not getting enough through your diet over time, your body will start pulling calcium from your bones to make sure those other essential functions are covered.
Oh no, that doesn't sound good.
It's not ideal. It weakens the bones, making them more susceptible to fractures and potentially leading to conditions like osteopenia and osteoporosis later in life.
So getting enough calcium is crucial, especially as we age. What are the best sources?
Dairy products are a good source, but if you can't tolerate dairy, there are plenty of other options. Leafy greens like kale and spinach, fortified foods like plant milk and some cereals, even certain types of fish like sardines can help you meet your calcium needs.
Okay, so there are options for everyone. Now, what about phosphorus? I know it often gets mentioned alongside calcium.
That's because they're partners in crime when it comes to building strong bones and teeth. But phosphorus has other important jobs too. It plays a key role in energy production. Think ATP, the fuel that powers your cells.
Interesting. So it's more than just a bone-building buddy for calcium.
Mhm.
Now, what about magnesium? What role does that mineral play?
Magnesium is like the ultimate helper molecule. It's involved in hundreds of enzymatic reactions throughout your body, everything from muscle and nerve function to blood sugar control and even protein synthesis. It's a true workhorse.
Wow, magnesium is the unsung hero. But are there any signs that we might not be getting enough?
While magnesium deficiency is uncommon, it can happen, especially if you have certain health conditions, take certain medications, or struggle with alcohol abuse.
Okay, so it's something to be mindful of.
Mm.
What are some good food sources of magnesium?
Good news for chocolate lovers. Dark chocolate is actually a decent source. You can also find magnesium in leafy greens, almonds, avocados, and black beans, so there are plenty of delicious ways to boost your intake.
Okay, I'm taking notes. Now, we've covered these major minerals, but I know there's another category, right? Trace minerals.
Exactly. They're just as essential, but you need them in smaller amounts, and they often have very specific roles in the body. Studying them can be quite complex, partly because we need less of them.
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
What are some of the key trace minerals we should be aware of?
Let's start with iron. It's crucial for transporting oxygen throughout your body via hemoglobin in your red blood cells. Without enough iron, you can feel tired, weak, and develop a condition called iron deficiency anemia.
I've heard of iron deficiency. Is it common?
It's pretty common, especially among women of childbearing age due to blood loss during menstruation, but it can affect men and children too, especially if their diet is low in iron-rich foods.
So what are the best sources of iron?
There's heme iron, which is found in animal sources like meat and poultry, and it's more easily absorbed than non-heme iron, which comes from plant sources like beans and lentils. But here's a tip. You can boost the absorption of non-heme iron by pairing it with vitamin C-rich foods.
Oh, that's a good trick. So like a lentil salad with some bell peppers.
Exactly. Now, what about zinc? I'm sure you've heard it's important for immunity.
Definitely. But I'm guessing it does more than just that.
You bet. Zinc is involved in wound healing, cell growth, taste and smell even. It's another multitasker.
Sounds like we need to make sure we're getting enough zinc. How can we do that?
Oysters are actually one of the best sources, but you can also find zinc in red meat, poultry, beans, nuts, and whole grains. Diagnosing zinc deficiency can be tricky because there's no reliable test, but certain factors can increase your risk, like poor diet, alcoholism, and certain diseases.
Okay, so it's something to be aware of. Now, what about iodine? I know that one's important for thyroid health.
You're absolutely right. Iodine is crucial for the production of thyroid hormones, which regulate your metabolism, growth, and development. And actually, iodine deficiency during pregnancy can have serious consequences for the developing baby, so making sure you get enough is super important.
Wow, that's scary. So how can we make sure we're getting enough iodine?
Iodized salt has been a game changer in preventing iodine deficiency worldwide. Most table salt is iodized, so simply using it in your cooking can make a big difference.
Okay, noted. Iodized salt is a must-have. This has been incredibly insightful. I feel like we've just scratched the surface of this fascinating world of water and minerals.
We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much more to explore. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve into healthy eating patterns and how to make sure you're getting enough of all these essential nutrients. Welcome back. Ready for more on water and minerals?
Definitely. We've covered so much about their roles in the body. Now I'm curious. How can we make sure we're actually getting enough through our diets?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Knowledge is great, but it's what we do with it that counts.
So true. So where do we begin? Are there certain minerals we should be extra mindful of?
Research suggests that many Americans don't get enough of certain minerals, potassium and calcium, for example.
Interesting. So those are like, what do they call them? shortfall nutrients,
Yeah.
and consistently low intake can actually impact our health.
Exactly. Over time, it can definitely catch up with you.
So what can we do to boost our potassium intake specifically?
Variety is key. Think fruits like bananas, avocados, prunes, and veggies like baked potatoes, sweet potatoes, spinach. Oh, and don't forget the skin on those potatoes.
All delicious and easy to incorporate into meals. Now, we talked about calcium earlier. How can we make sure we're getting enough of that?
Dairy products are a great source, of course, but if you can't or choose not to consume dairy, there are other options. Leafy greens like kale, collard greens, fortified foods like plant-based milk, some cereals, even certain types of fish like sardines can help.
Options for everyone. I like that. Now, I've heard of a specific eating pattern called the D-Day-H diet. It sounds pretty intense. Dietary approaches to stop hypertension. Is that something we should all be following?
The D-Day-H diet's actually quite approachable, and it aligns well with other healthy eating patterns like the Mediterranean diet. It emphasizes fruits, veggies, low-fat dairy, whole grains. It's really about what to include rather than what to restrict.
Okay, so adding good stuff, not depriving yourself. I like the sound of that. But
Okay.
what sets the D-Day-H diet apart specifically?
Well, it was originally designed to lower blood pressure, but the benefits extend way beyond that. The DHH diet is naturally rich in those shortfall nutrients we talked about, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and it's low in sodium, a win-win for overall health.
Sounds like a pretty sustainable way to eat for the long haul. Before we move on, is there anything about these healthy eating patterns that stands out to you?
What I find fascinating is the focus on balance and moderation. It's not about being perfect, it's about making gradual changes you can actually stick with over time, enjoying a variety of nutritious foods.
That's a good point. It's about finding what works for you and making those healthy choices a part of your lifestyle. Now ready to jump back into the world of trace minerals.
Absolutely. These often overlooked minerals have such specific vital roles to play. It's like uncovering hidden treasures within the intricate workings of the body.
I like that analogy. Earlier, we talked about iron, zinc, and iodine. What other trace minerals should we be aware of?
Let's talk about selenium. It's a powerful antioxidant, which means it helps protect your cells from damage caused by those pesky free radicals.
Oh, free radicals. Those are the bad guys, right?
Think of them as unstable molecules that can damage your cells and contribute to aging and disease. Selenium steps in to neutralize them, like a bodyguard for your cells.
Okay, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So where can we find selenium in our diet?
Brazil nuts are a fantastic source. Just 1 or 2 a day can provide your daily needs. You can also find it in seafood, meat, and whole grains.
Brazil nuts. Got it. Now, what about copper? I know it's important, but not exactly sure why.
Copper is another one involved in protecting your cells. It's a component of several enzymes that act as antioxidants. It's also crucial for energy production and iron metabolism, helping your body use iron efficiently.
So copper and iron are kind of a dynamic duo.
You could say that. You can find copper in foods like nuts, seeds, organ meats, even dark chocolate.
Another reason to enjoy those chocolate treats in moderation. I'm sensing a theme here. A lot of these trace minerals are found in delicious foods.
It's true. Now, what about manganese? Any guesses what it does?
Manganese. It sounds familiar, but I can't quite place it.
Manganese is involved in bone formation, wound healing, metabolism. It even helps your body utilize those antioxidants effectively. You'll find it in whole grains, nuts, leafy greens, even tea.
Building, healing, protecting. Manganese does it all. What about molybdenum? That one's a bit of a tongue twister.
Molybdenum might not be as well known, but it helps your body use iron and detoxify certain compounds. It's found in legumes, grains, and dairy products.
So many trace minerals, each with its own specific job, even though we need them in such small amounts.
It really highlights the incredible complexity of the body and how every nutrient has a role to play. Speaking of making sure we're getting enough of these trace minerals, I know there's often a question about
That's
supplements.
my point. Are mineral supplements necessary? I mean, there are so many different kinds out there.
While supplements can be helpful in certain situations, like addressing a specific deficiency diagnosed by a doctor, it's generally best to aim for meeting your mineral needs through food.
Food first.
Exactly. A balanced diet provides a wider array of nutrients and avoids the risk of overdoing it with a single mineral.
So supplements are a tool to be used strategically, not a replacement for healthy eating. Are there any specific situations where supplements might be recommended?
Of course. For those with certain medical conditions or dietary restrictions, supplements can be really valuable for filling in those nutritional gaps. But it's crucial to talk to a doctor before taking any supplements, just to make sure they're appropriate for you and won't interact with any medications you're taking.
That's a good reminder. Supplements aren't always harmless and can sometimes do more harm than good. Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, are there any key takeaways about mineral intake you want to highlight for our listeners?
I think the big takeaway is that our food choices have a profound impact on our overall health. Paying attention to your mineral intake isn't just about preventing deficiencies, it's about optimizing your well-being.
It's about giving your body what it needs to truly thrive.
Exactly. When you nourish your body with that right balance of minerals, you're supporting every system. Your bones, muscles, brain, immune system, everything.
That's a powerful message. We've gained so much knowledge about these essential nutrients, but I'm sure there's more to uncover. Welcome back to our final deep dive into the fascinating world of water and minerals.
It's been quite a journey.
I know, right? We've learned so much about these essential nutrients and how they work in our bodies. Now I want to get into some real-life examples and address some questions that came up during our research.
Sounds good. Let's put all this knowledge into context.
Okay, so one thing that really stood out to me was this case study about a woman named Myra. She experienced some pretty intense side effects after trying this aloe vera detox cleanse.
Ah, yes. Myra's story. A good reminder that even natural remedies can have unintended consequences. In Myra's case, that aloe vera caused excessive fluid loss, leading to dehydration and electrolyte imbalances. It's a cautionary tale for sure.
It is. It's so easy to get caught up in the latest health trends. But we need to remember that what works for one person might not work for everyone. And sometimes those quick fixes can backfire.
Definitely. Always a good idea to talk to your doctor before making any drastic changes to your diet or lifestyle.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of things we put into our bodies, let's tackle a question that I'm sure is on many people's minds. Do zinc lozenges really work for colds?
Ah, the age-old question. Well, the research isn't totally conclusive. There's some evidence suggesting that zinc lozenges might help reduce the duration of colds, but more research is needed.
So maybe worth a try, but not a guaranteed miracle cure.
Exactly. And it's worth noting that the intranasal zinc, like those zinc sprays, has been linked to a loss of smell, so I'd steer clear of those.
Oh, good to know. I'll stick to the lozenges if I decide to experiment. Now, here's another question I've always been curious about. Does the chlorine in our drinking water actually pose a cancer risk?
It's a valid concern, given that chlorine is added to kill harmful bacteria, but the levels used are considered safe and far below any level that would cause cancer. The EPA sets strict limits to ensure our drinking water is safe.
Okay, that's reassuring. I know a lot of people are concerned about those added chemicals.
I understand the concern, but in this case, the benefits of disinfecting our water outweigh the very small risks.
Makes sense. Now, I've seen a lot of marketing around chelated minerals in supplements. What are those exactly, and are they any better absorbed?
Chelated minerals are basically minerals that have been chemically combined with an amino acid. The idea is that this enhances absorption, but honestly, there's no scientific evidence to back up that claim.
So it's just a fancy marketing ploy.
Pretty much. It's a good reminder to be critical consumers and not fall for those hyped-up marketing claims.
Absolutely. We have to do our research.
Okay.
So we've talked about these general recommendations for mineral intake, but our individual needs can vary quite a bit, right?
Of course. Factors like age, sex, activity level, overall health, all of that can influence your unique mineral needs.
So what's the best way for our listeners to figure out their optimal intake of water and minerals?
Honestly, the best approach is to work with a qualified healthcare professional, like a registered dietitian. They can assess your individual needs, take into account any potential interactions with medications, and help you create a personalized plan.
Great advice. Consulting an expert is never a bad idea, especially when it comes to our health. Now, as we wrap up this incredible deep dive into water and minerals, is there any final thought-provoking question or idea you'd like to leave our listeners with?
We've spent all this time talking about how our bodies use minerals, but have you ever thought about how those minerals get into our food in the first place? The mineral content of soil is super important, and that can be affected by things like farming practices and even climate change.
Wow, that's a great point. It really connects our health to the health of the planet.
Exactly. A powerful reminder that our choices have far-reaching consequences and that nourishing ourselves also means taking care of the earth.
That's a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us for this journey into the world of water and minerals.
It's been my pleasure. Remember, Even small changes can make a big difference when it comes to nourishing your body and living a vibrant, healthy life.
Until next time, Physio Knowledge Seekers, keep those minds curious and stay hydrated.